بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم ألهمنا مراشد أمورنا وأعذنا من شرور أنفسنا. The narration, which is many a time spoken about whenever people discuss fitan. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, بادروا بالأعمال فتنا كقطع الليل المظلم يصبح الرجل مؤمنا ويمسي كافرا ويمسي مؤمنا ويصبح كافرا يبيع دينه بعرض من الدنيا وكما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. Many a time we mentioned this already, that the ahadith of fitan, when people ask which era it referred to, the answer is it referred to every era. The way Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam painted it, the way he said it, the word he used in it. Today in class, the hadith of Riyadus Salih of Zaru Talibin came, that when the hadith which is known as hadith Jibrail, so that word that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned when he was asked, what's the sign of Qiyamah? So he said, when you will find very poor people, people with no clothing, no shoes. Then the word he used, he said, يَتَطَاوَلُونَ فِي الْبُنْيَانِ. So for years it was translated as يَتَفَاخَرُونَ فِي الْبُنْيَانِ. يَتَطَاوَلُونَ means each one will try to be tall in the buildings that he is making. Because in that era no one would build buildings tall. Buildings were made big. So obviously the narration was that the man himself will be too tall, try to be outstanding in his building. So يَتَفَاخَرُونَ فِي الْبُنْيَانِ. But then history changed, the world changed. Then the buildings went tall. Then the translation of يَتَطَاوَلُونَ فِي الْبُنْيَانِ became exactly what it was. That each one will be seeking tool in his buildings. First it was each one was seeking tool in his own self, that he will be big. Each one wanted to be more taller than the other. Because they never saw an example where buildings will go tall. So that's the beauty of the ahadith, the words of Quran. That one word, when the person in the past looked at it, he said it means this because of this. 100 years later, somebody else will look at the same word, he'll say, no, there's another secret in it. This narration, بَادِرُوا بِالْأَعْمَالِ فِتَنًا كَقِطَعِ اللَّيْلِ الْمُظْلِمِ. Badiru means you have to race. Bil a'mali, with good actions. Fitanan, before the coming, or you have to race with trials. Meaning trials are going to be there and you'll have to race. If you get to good actions before the trials comes, you're lucky. Because when the trial comes, it will be not so easy anymore to do good actions. Badiru bil a'mali fitanan. While you got the chance, do what you can. When the trial is going to come, it's not going to be so easy to do anymore. And describing the trial, he said, كَقِطَعِ اللَّيْلِ الْمُظْلِمِ. One is qit'atun, means like a piece of a dark night. That itself would have been like, what a terrible trial, dark. But qit'un was the plural. That from the dark night you take pieces. Each fitna will be another piece. What is this fitna, this trial? It had to be something that when it comes, you will no longer be practicing. So you were told, before that thing comes, do what you can do. Badiru bil a'mali fitana. What is that thing? That is the beauty of the ahadith. That in every era, a person had a chance to see a good era. And then Allah Tabarak Ta'ala made it, he saw a more difficult era. But when he was going through the good era, perhaps he never really appreciated what it means to be in a good era. When we were small, perhaps we had what was called television. We never had the phone. There was no phone in the world. the way the phone is used today. So you might, like, if someone has to say, think about 300 years ago, here we say, think about 30 years ago. 30 years ago in the madrasa, there was no need to have a law, you can't keep phones. Because they never thought, who will ever keep a phone? What are you going to do with the phone? 30 years later, if you tell the person, don't keep a phone, they'll tell you, are you mad? How can the world work without a phone? Just 30 years. But it was told that it's going to go faster now. So fast that 5 years down the line, someone is going to say, are you mad? How can you not do this? No longer 30. Meaning you yourself will be unable to understand how 5 years ago I survived. But as it goes to that next 5 years, as the phone today made me and you so weak in a'mal, that there were many a person before the phone came, they never missed the tahajjud. But the day the phone came, they never got a tahajjud. It took away their life, it took away their night. An hour would go with it, 1.5 hours, 2 hours. A man who never in his life looked at television, when the phone came, he saw everything. Badiru bil a'mali fitanan. Such fitan will come, that how easy it was to make amal before that fitan, it's not going to be easy. And the world saw it. And in every era you will see it. The people before the television, you might think, what would they do at night? There was no lights. There was a time when there was no lights. It was candle. And you know, if there's a candle at night, you also feel tired. Say, put off the candle, let's go sleep. At that time, no one even spoke about going late in the night, because what you're going to do at night? But the whole world changed then. That was a fitan. It came in the name of technology, but it came with a fitan. That now nighttime will be more alive for you than daytime. And what you couldn't do during the day, I'll allow you to do it at night. It was a fitan. Whatever we're going to see in the future is going to be our fitan. Because man's body, after a few years with what is called the normal technology, he becomes used to it. And then deen is such, it's like a magnet, it again troubles him. And it pulls him that, can't you change? Are you going to waste your life in this? So you will see many a person after spending 2, 3, 4 years with the phone, then they will say, this spoiled my life. So they put it outside. At night they don't sleep with it. Finally they realize this is worse than a second wife. So at night they put it outside the door. It must stay there. Because they said the headaches that come when the phone is near you, it all went away when there was no phone near you. So the one person started using it as alarm clock. But the day he found out that that thing doesn't just wake you up, it keeps you awake the whole night. Although you think you're sleeping. But that amount of peace you're getting if that phone is far from you, you're not getting when it's near you. So when the man experienced it, he said, I'd rather buy a normal alarm clock. Put it out. And then he learned, hey, life is possible without the phone at night. There are some who completely left it. After they saw what it did to their marriage life. And their wife would say to them that I'll forgive you, but that mark you left on my heart, that will take years to come out. And as that man walked around looking for someone to blame, who he found? He found the phone. He said, before you entered my life, I would never have done what I did. So there are people who learn that this is evil. But what happens then? A new fitna comes. And when that new fitna comes again, that amal which he started doing now, that new one wipes it away. So the narration said it so beautifully, while you got the chance, remember something else is around the bend. Before that fitna comes, whatever you can do, do it. Badiru bil a'mali fitanan. Lot of fitnas will come. Each one will be dark. Kaqita'il laylil muslim. One nice explanation they give, which is unique for our era. That how much you can do, do it before one fitna comes. So they said, because when that fitna comes, فَإِنَّكُمْ لَا تُطِيقُونَ الْأَعْمَالِ عَلَى وَجْهِ الْكَمَالِ فَإِنَّكُمْ لَا تُطِيقُونَ الْأَعْمَالِ عَلَى وَجْهِ الْكَمَالِ. He says, when that fitna comes, then how well you used to do your ibadat once upon a time, perhaps you won't be able to do it after that. So we found an error. Where the law of the government came, you want to go to the masjid, it's not easy. You want to perform your salah in a normal manner, which we always took normal. Suddenly it became difficult. And the abnormal became the normal. The one who's not putting on a mask, he has to look around, anyone seeing it. The one who wants to go closer, once upon a time it would say, close the safs. Now he said, open the safs. فَإِنَّكُمْ لَا تُطِيقُونَ الْأَعْمَالِ عَلَى وَجْهِ الْكَمَالِ. And one will just wipe away, another will come. Because the hadith said, you do what you can do. Don't wait for tomorrow. There's no better tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes even harder. So while we are in our era of what is called, we say, so hard to make amal. Think about this year. Tomorrow is going to be harder. How much we can do today, do it. The second is بَادِرُوا بِالْأَعْمَالِ فِتَنًا. Why are you told race towards a'mal before the fitna catches you? One is do what you can do, that's what we understood. The second is that man who had taken a lot of petrol, when the difficult days comes, that petrol will take him through the difficult days. Many of us, we relax in the easy day because we don't see an attack. When you don't see an attack, you don't prepare for the coming attack. So that person is not reading Quran. The reason is he says life is good. The day that fitna comes, the one who had no Quran in his life, he doesn't stand against that fitna. Then you looked at a person and you say, what happened to him? So the answer will be, he never lost his iman last night. He began losing his iman 5 years ago. 5 years ago, he stopped doing what would have saved his iman today. Because when that fitna comes, it bites. The one who is strong manages. The one who's weak falls. No one falls on the spot. So, بَادِرُوا بِالْأَعْمَالِ فِتَنًا. You got a chance now, do lot. Because when that fitna comes, يُصْبِحُ الرَّجُلُ مُؤْمِنًا وَيُمْسِي كَافِرًا. It will be so severe that if there is no amal in you before, yusbihu rajulu means man in the morning goes out. That's called yusbihu. So the environment outside will be such that when you return home at night, it would have made you into a kafir. There was an era where the world called it zihni irtidad. That the universities, the schools, they played in the mind of the individual. Or a girl that he met and then she told him that, I don't want to change my fate. And I don't want you to change your fate. Doesn't your religion allow me and you to live happy? So he said, let me find out. So he goes to one alim and he says, can I marry her? And he says, she's Hindu. No, you can't. And he says, where that law came? So they write that what he yesterday understood is haram. But just because of some worldly gain, when he goes at night, he's adamant it's halal. And the world can tell me what they want to. And that one thought of his, that it's halal because I want it as halal, that makes him a kafir at night. One thought, zihni irtidad. Still his clothing might be a believer for years. He's just angry with this one ruling. What's the issue about me marrying her? Just that one ruling. Yusbihu. Something in school was said, it troubled him. He said, I just don't understand why this law had to be there. Just why? One thing troubled him, zihni irtidad. Yusbihu rajulu mu'minan wa yumsi kafira. But if someone asked that, how did that school environment affect him so fast? Just one day the teacher said something. One day that pretty girl said, won't you do it for me? How many people said, no, I won't do it. So what was the difference? One was the man who had a lot of petrol in his car. Because he had so many years of a'mal before it, which was extra. It was nafal, it was the nur of nafal, it was a lot of tilawat. The day that difficult decision came, something came in him, he found a barrier between him and sin. Like the gap between the east and the west. And another person, he found the same fitna. But he never have that 5 years. Because he never have that 5 years. Why are we saying it is, you got the world. In the world, the best environment the students today have. In the world. You have to hide to use a phone. No way in the world people hide to use a phone. No way in the world. And appreciate that. You got a chance today to prepare for tomorrow. يُصْبِحُ الرَّجُلُ مُؤْمِنًا وَيُمْسِي كَافِرًا. Some will get caught outside. But amazing the narration. And then وَيُمْسِي مُؤْمِنًا وَيُصْبِحُ كَافِرًا. Once upon a time they would wonder, what can a man do at night? That he spends the night as a believer and in the morning he loses his iman. Meaning he wakes up non-Muslim. In the past they would wonder that once the dark comes, what do? You're going to go out with your lantern looking for evil. And that's how it was. Night was called the time of evil. But to go out at night was not easy. How that narration hit for our era. When the night time comes, your life starts. That's when the man goes on that sights. Now he's feeling relaxed. Whether he got a wife or he hasn't got a wife. Whether he's married or he's not married. Whether it's a girl, whether it's a boy. Suddenly everything starts. But what we're seeing is not the end, it's going to be even worse. Fitanan, another one will come. And again there at night, see the narration, he never said he goes to sleep. Amsa yumsi means he passes the night. He passes the night as a believer, but the morning is gone. Maybe he went on to some site, he started chatting. Maybe some atheists on the other side told him, what about this, what about that? He got involved with so much of chats. He started investigating what is the world of magic. Everything started making sense to him. That answers I was looking for years. Again the question will be, did that one night of the computer take him? Like a parent says sometimes, how do I save my son, my daughter? Do I make sure they don't have a computer, they don't have a phone, they don't have this, they don't have that, they don't go out? Our answer is, you have to give them so much of vitamin, so much of spiritual strength, that the day the devil comes in front of them, they're the one who knocks him down. You have to do that. Which we mentioned perhaps a few weeks ago, one alim had a dream where he saw everyone was like making sajda to Dajjal. So he was in front also. Because he was not making the sajda, he got scared that he's the only one standing out. Everyone had submitted. Sajda means submission. Sajda means submission. They all submitted to a system, to an individual, to what is called Dajjaliyat, the system also, to the man also. All submitted. The man who doesn't submit, he stands out. That's why it's called standing in a dream. Standing means stand out. They all pick you up that you're the problem. So when you standing out, obviously all the attention then comes to you. The biggest attack comes to you. So he saw Dajjal walking towards him. How scared you get that thing? Because you normally look for support. We're living in an era where you don't get that support. It's every man for himself. So the question went through his mind that how do I face this? As this individual is walking towards him, meaning Dajjal, how does one man stand up against Dajjal? So the answer was, this is the battle of spirituality against materialism. You don't find material power with material power. You try and punch Dajjal. We don't know what will happen because we haven't yet seen him, but a lot of things can happen. Your hand might go through his head because we don't know how he is. What his material is, we don't really know. You might take a gun and shoot it a couple of times, the head might go out, head will come back on, you smile, you say, now my turn, let me shoot. Because he's not full man. So how do you fight an individual who's not you? So he began reading Surah Kahf. He says, after the dream he understood what it meant, Surah Kahf. I'll add one point on that. It's like we live in a world of dreams. So because in the dream he saw the power of it, he said, wow. But all of us saw the power of Surah Kahf in the Ahadith. The Hadith said you will destroy it. But it's only the day you see it, you'll really understand, hey, the hadith was right. Hadith was always right. So he just began reading Surah Kahf. And as he started, he saw that mighty Dajjal became a very weak Dajjal. He fell on his knees. Dajjal fell on his knees. He fell on his knees. So I don't know whether he carried on reading and then whatever would have happened, but just that fall. And then maybe he woke up and he said, wow, what's the power of the surah? What's the power of the surah? That child who had read Surah Kahf for years, whose mother and father made sure Friday will not pass, you will definitely read it. The day that fitna comes, he will find there's that barrier which was promised. So this exam, you don't pass it just by surviving the imtihan. It's like how you tell the child that if you're not there the whole year, you can make what du'as you want to imtihan time. Anni maghlubun fantasir. That for fatahna is not going to happen. You're going to sail. Why? Because you can't pass it there and there. You need something before. This was badiru bil a'mali fitna. Before the fitna comes, what you can do, do. Do it just for this, that I need to make my shield for tomorrow. Little bit time you got after Zohar Salah, you see everyone running. So you take out a tasbih and you walk. You say, I'll get my lunch, but let me make a little zikr because today's zikr is going to help me tomorrow. We're not looking that a man has to become Junaid Baghdadi of today. We are looking for a shield that protects mine and your iman tomorrow. Because when the hadith said it's going to happen, in the day the iman is going to be taken away, or at night it's going to be taken away. There's one narration on the same wording, which comes in Ibn Majah, from Abu Huraira radiallahu anh, same wording, that fitan will come. And a person in the morning will end the night on kufr. And then he got one nice wording, he got, Illa man ahyahu Allahu bil ilm. Illa man ahyahu Allahu bil ilm. Only that person will be saved who Allah keeps alive through the blessings of knowledge. Only that person will be saved who Allah keeps alive through the blessings of knowledge. Meaning you people got that. The world of ilm was that hifazat. That knowledge will save you from that fitan. That when that time comes, one narration gives examples of what type of fitan. That imaratus sufaha. When people whose minds are very weak will be your leaders. You don't give examples, but the whole world knows our leaders are not the most intelligent in the world. Some of them, when they talk, even their own people behind them says, can't he just read what's written there? Why did he have to say that extra sentence? Imaratus sufaha, and that's throughout. Because they put a leader in front who won't be able to question what's happening at the back. They will always say he's surrounded by the thieves. Sometimes the leader himself is good also. But the whole cabinet is so corrupted. Why they're so happy is because the leader has to face all the problem. You might say it's lovely to be a president, it's not easy at all. Every time something goes wrong, the other people are still laughing. No one will target them. It's that president who will get targeted. Even if he tries to be good. Finally, he realizes the only way to look after my honor, I also become bad. So if I'm bad, my people around me at least look after me. He tries to stand up. Try to be good, he becomes more badnaam, more disgraced. In the ending, he goes back again. That's why you'll see when a president comes to the ground, the people who never stood for president, they remain in the cabinet. And the next president comes, they give him support also. They don't have their days in and days out. They're enjoying relaxing. They're more important than the president himself. Imaratus sufaha. Then he says, وَكَثْرَةُ الشُّرَةِ. And when there will be a lot of military around. Meaning things will be forced. Laws will be forced. That's a fitan. That's an error that the world is seeing, we are going to see. That anyone who doesn't want to toe a line, he will be called a threat for humanity. كَثْرَةُ الشُّرَةِ. At that time to practice freely on deen won't be easy. While you can do what you can do it today. كَثْرَةُ الشُّرَةِ. وَبَيْعُ الْحُكْمِ, which most likely means that people will be selling rules. Meaning bribery will be open in the market. That the world already saw from long. It reached such a stage that even the ulama say without bribery you can't get the work done. So bad it became. Everything happened with bribery. That which was called once upon a time finnar, the Rashi and the Murtashi both are in the fire. So much ta'wil, interpretation was made, that today bribery even in the best of circles became like it's a necessity. I have to bribe. Bay'ul hukmi. Rules will be just sold. Bay'ul hukmi. So those are those fitan that we will see, and it's going to get worse. Unique was the narration. It never just say that remember a time is coming where you're going to lose your iman. It said what you must make sure that to do that you don't lose your iman. Badiru bil a'mali fitana. That while you got the chance, do a little extra. A little extra. With the thought that the little of today is going to help me tomorrow. The small child is nabaligh. So the people say he is not yet baligh, his book never opened. So you say to my child, I want you to read so much Quran now that the day your book opens, the devil doesn't grab you. Because you're still not mukallaf. So there's no sin. How much of light you can gather it today. Sometimes when a boy comes to madrasa, some people tell him, you're still small, don't act too pious. It's supposed to be the opposite. That you're so innocent, do whatever you can do. Tomorrow you're not going to be so innocent. Your mind is going to change. People are going to introduce you to something. While you got the chance to be Junaid Baghdadi, become Junaid Baghdadi. Because tomorrow you're going to need it just to save your iman. We're not living in that next era that we are all going to be shiblis of the era. The next era is going to be even harder than this era. Whatever you can do for your deen, we're not saying for you to be the wali of the era. We're saying for you to remain on iman. For me to remain on iman means do a little bit extra today, it's going to save us tomorrow. Illa man ahyahu Allah bil ilm. Knowledge is one of those things that are going to save. Bil a'mali fitanan. Any amal. Enter the masjid, just open Quran. When your thought comes to your mind, why I'm reading? Just for door. Then you will say, oh Allah, I'm reading this Quran for the hifazat of my iman. You don't know what the trap is going to be. Many a time a person, because so many years we saw iman, you become so lax, as though me, the devil can't catch me. Because he never caught me up till now. So normally I'll say, I know my limits. I know where I can push, and then I say, Allah Pak, I'm sorry. The thought never ever comes, but that what happens if I do fall in a trap where he pulls me right out of iman? So immediately I say, no, that can't happen. I know myself. Should never be that. That bil fitani was said on the tongue of the most truthful of the world. That such fitan will come, that the mu'min meant mu'min. A person of iman lost the whole iman. So I'm that person of iman, you that person of iman. When Allah's Nabi said it's going to happen, that fear must be there, it is going to happen. It must not happen with me. So there is no that I'm lax, it can't happen with me. It means for me not to make it happen, do whatever you can do. Whether it's durood, whether it's subhanallah, whether it's alhamdulillah. Nafal, everyone might say, how much must I do? The answer is, nafal is not just for your high places in Jannah. Nafal is to make sure you get to Jannah. If that iman goes, there's no Jannah. That nafal is there, that amal is there, whatever you can do. May Allah Tabarak Ta'ala protect us all. Through the barakah of this hadith, may Allah Pak give us all shauq. That whenever we got free time, try and do something. Thinking that the next era might not be so easy like now. What I can do now, enjoy it. It will save me tomorrow. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.